Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining me tonight. I'm very pleased to have the Director of Jazz Studies at UConn here, Earl MacDonald. He's got an amazing background. His music is focused on things like climate change, migration, system injustice, and he talks about clarity, proportion, and ethical attention. He's got a current project we're going to talk about called Songs for a Shifting World in a few minutes. But let me tell you a little bit more about him. He's a two-time Juno nominee, a recipient of the National Composition Award from the U.S. Air Force Band, a composer of the title work for a Grammy-nominated recording. He studied at the Royal Conservatory of Music and also at McGill and Rutgers universities. And he's been a musical director, pianist, and arranger for the Maynard Ferguson Big Bop Nouveau Band. Just an incredible background. Also had honors from the Connecticut Office of the Arts Artistic Excellence Award. Earl, thank you for joining us today. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Andrew. I think this will be fun.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time listening to your wonderful music on Spotify, and we selected just a small portion of it today that we'll review. And I wish we could play everything, but of course we only have an hour, so it's going to be somewhat limited. But what an amazing legacy you've built already, and it's just wonderful to listen to your works. Tell us a little bit about your commitment to climate change and migration. You obviously have, a very clear purpose in your music that's quite unique and different from a lot of the composers out there.
Well, it certainly wasn't always the case. This is a more recent development in my artistic development, I guess.
Hmm.
Um, I will admit, when I was younger, I was writing music really just for selfish purposes, I suppose,
Mm.
hoping that people would notice and say, wow, this guy's really an accomplished writer and a great piano player. And, so I was writing to impress
Yeah, I
or to
appreciate your
entertain.
honesty.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or also to entertain.
Mm.
In recent years, I've just really felt like artists need to speak up,
Mm.
and there's so many important issues that are occurring today, and
Absolutely.
um, I just didn't want to be contributing to the distractions in our world.
Mm.
I've
Yes.
thought about how I guess I could compare it to reality television. People, I think a large portion of society comes home from work at night and they click on the television and they're watching, who knows what, The
Yes.
Apprentice, for instance, or
Hmm.
The Bachelorette, uh, and it's mindless television. And
Mm.
I didn't want to be contributing to the parallel of that in the musical world, where people
Right.
just flip it on and they're snapping their fingers and they go, "Wow, this is great," and it's swinging. Instead, I want to be contributing to the discussion of what's
Mm.
going on in our world and getting people thinking and questioning and all of that.
We need more of that. That's wonderful.
I
Mm.
hope so.
Hmm. So tell us about this Black Square Ensemble. In fact, I'm going to share the screen now and just this is on your website, Black Square Ensemble. Tell us more about this.
Well, this is my latest project, and we're
Hmm.
not actually going to be sharing any of the music from it today just because it is so freshly recorded that
Mm.
it's not released as of yet.
Hmm.
But it's an interesting group and a real, again, a departure from what I've done in the past. So as you can see, there is a vocalist, and he is an operatic bass baritone. His name is
Mm.
Rod Nelman, and he
Hmm.
sings with the Metropolitan Opera, and he's one of my colleagues at UConn.
Hmm.
And I incorporated cello into the mix.
Mm.
That's Amanda Gukin that's playing.
Hmm.
And then someone I have collaborated with before, Rogério Bacato, is a great Brazilian percussionist.
Oh, wow.
And he adds all kinds of colors and flavors to the music and takes it in unexpected directions, which I love.
Hmm. Oh, great.
So yeah, so it's quite the combination.
Hmm.
Um, as you referenced the title of the band, so I call it the
Yes.
Black Square
Let,
Ensemble.
let me feature that here. That's the official Black Square from Kazimir Malevich. I don't know if I'm saying his name
Right,
correctly, but it's a little crinkled for over time and age, but it was basically a big square of black in the middle of a white field. Yeah.
right. And it was painted in 1915.
Hmm.
Um, when you think of it, you have to have a lot of conviction and in order to pull something like this off, right?
Hmm.
This
Yes.
was around that time. People were painting, bowls of fruit and
Hmm.
you know, pastoral scenes and things of that sort, right? But not, but he went in a totally different direction, and I loved that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Paring things down, and it really sparked all kinds of movements within
Hmm.
the artistic world, where there's minimalism, the modernist movements, and so through my music, I'm kind of hoping to do something similar.
Yeah. Now let's get back to you for a bit. Tell us about how you got into the, what was it like when you were a kid? Were your parents into music themselves, or how were you exposed to music as a young boy? How did that work?
Well, neither of my parents are professional musicians,
Hmm.
but my father had a deep love for music,
Hmm.
um, and believe it or not, he was a bagpiper.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yes,
A
and
true MacDonald.
yes,
Wow.
I come from a long line of bagpipers, in fact.
Uh-huh.
Um, and he was very passionate about it. He actually wrote books for bagpipes, and
Hmm.
the other facet to my home life was, I was raised in the church, attending a Baptist church,
Hmm.
and I was playing piano and organ there from a very early age.
Oh, really? Oh.
So my dad loved hymns, and he played a little bit of piano, and I would hear these hymns both on the piano but also on his bagpipe chanter when he was
Really?
practicing.
Wow.
And but they were very encouraging. My
Hmm.
dad was also an electronics buff, and he
Ah.
built an electronic organ, one of those Heathkit organs.
Oh, no kidding.
And so that was my first instrument. I played electronic organ, and it
How
wasn't
old were you
until
back
high.
then? Yeah,
Well,
you
they
think.
started me around five. I think
Yeah. Oh,
I
wow.
started on taking group organ lessons, believe it or not.
No kidding. Huh.
It's in a church basement, and they were, I think Yamaha had set up, maybe a half dozen electronic organs in a what was a Sunday school room, I think.
Huh.
And there was one teacher, and we were all playing the same songs together. And it was quite funny, right? Because they didn't realize that I couldn't read music.
Oh, wow.
I was playing everything by ear because I was surrounded by all these other instruments.
Hmm.
And so a couple of years into it, they found out I was playing by ear and that I could, play other songs by ear.
Hmm.
Um, then late, I guess in high school is when I switched over to piano and decided to get a little bit more serious
Hmm.
about my musical training and took some classical lessons um, and so on.
Yeah, I noticed that in your bio you talk about your music is somewhat classically influenced as well. And then how did you get into the jazz end of things?
It happened in high school. My high school had an award-winning jazz band,
Hmm.
and in fact, they won the national competition in Canada.
Oh, wow.
And so, as I said, I could play by ear. So when it came time for auditions, I was one of the only kids that wasn't scared to improvise.
Oh.
I can't say my improvisations were great, but I wasn't afraid to do it.
Huh.
Um, so I started there, and then there kept being opportunities. So
Hmm.
partly through that program, first of all, I started a rock band with a few of my buddies, and we were
Uh-huh.
practicing in one of their parents' basements.
Hmm.
And the dad came down when we were taking a break, and we were listening to some albums. And he said, "Hey, I've got an Oscar Peterson record that I want to play for you guys.
Ah.
Have you ever thought about playing some of this stuff?" And we listened to it, and then we thought, well, let's give it a try, so just weird things, and then uh later there was an opening at the University of Manitoba's big band for piano, and they asked me
Hmm.
to join it. So
Hmm.
um so a few jazz opportunities opened up. That's how I got into it.
So you grew up in Canada, I surmise, then. Is that
I
true?
did. I grew up in Winnipeg, Manitoba.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, great. What brought you down this way? Was it, I guess, college, I imagine, right?
Yes, well, I let's see. It's a long story, right? So
Okay.
as far as how I ended up here, I taught for, well, first of all, I did my master's degree at Rutgers, so that was my
Hmm.
first experience living in the U.S.
Yeah.
Then I taught for a year in Nova Scotia.
Hmm.
Then I taught for a year in Ohio
Ah.
and at Bowling Green University.
Hmm.
And after that one year, that's where I heard well, that's where I saw a poster that Maynard Ferguson was playing. And I went to that concert with the intent of introducing myself and seeing if he needed a piano player.
Really?
And
Oh,
it worked.
oh.
So,
Good for you.
so then
That's
I
great.
toured with Maynard. I toured with him for a couple of years, and then that's when I landed my job at the University of Connecticut. So that's how I
Mm,
ended up here.
excellent. Well, glad you're here. So let's talk about one of the first pieces we're going to play today. This is from the album Mirror of the Mind, and it's called A Thousand Memories. You want to give us a little background on that?
Sure. So the ensemble, I have a lot of different bands over the years, right? The
Ah,
ensemble is called COW, which is an acronym for the Creative Opportunity Workshop.
ah,
And the idea with that band was to stretch myself and force myself to play in different ways.
mm-hmm.
So as a jazz pianist, sometimes, we've got a bass player chugging along and we're comping, just accompanying. I decided to eliminate bass from this ensemble to force myself to play more left hand.
Huh.
And then I used percussion. Rogerio Baccato, again, was in this group. Initially, it started with clarinet, but eventually I replaced that with saxophone and
Mm,
cello in that
mm-hmm.
band. And so the whole concept with that group was to really think deeply about the different instruments' roles,
Mm.
who's playing melody, who is accompanying, um, even registers, So uh, with this composition, I tried to treat the piano a little bit differently. I treated it kind of like a marimba, playing some rhythmic figures.
Yeah. It's got a
And
great upbeat
and
to it. Yeah.
thank you. And
Mm,
then I treated the melody as if it's coming from down below in the cello. So it's
mm.
beneath that, beneath the accompaniment. Usually it's the reverse, right? When you're accompanying a singer or most
Yeah.
instruments, you've got the melody on top and then accompaniment below that. So I decided to
Mm,
switch those around.
mm.
Um, and this piece came from a collaboration that I did with a visual artist. Again, her name was
Oh.
Deborah Dancy.
Mm-hmm.
And when we first talked about doing this piece, she had a book that she introduced to me. That it was a book that she had compiled with, I believe it had some poetry in it, and also some prose and her images.
Mm.
And from that, that's where I got the title, A Thousand Memories. It
Mm-hmm.
has to do with ancestry and
Oh.
lessons learned from the past.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Well, let's listen. Let's listen to this. This is wonderful. just wonderful. You know, I have to ask, um, I write a little bit of music myself, but my improvisation skills are woefully amateur, and I would love to find what advice do you have for people on how to build their jazz improvisation skills? Because there's a whole, I'm sure, methodology to it that's amazing. But any, I know there's no quick fix, but any recommendations you might make? And then just before I turn over to you, I do remember when I used to live in Boston, I went to Berkeley once, and they had a book of about this thick that had basically every possible combination of fingerings of different melodic lines you could imagine. And I lent it to a friend and never saw it again. Is that a book that is a book like that would be helpful, or what? How do you recommend people approach improvisation?
Well, that's a loaded question.
Yeah, we don't have
Asking
an
a
hour
jazz
for that
musician
one.
that,
I'm sorry.
right?
Sorry.
But I'll tell you this.
Yeah.
Strong opinion. I think that books are the wrong way to go.
Hmm.
I think of jazz improvisation as being a language. Just
Hmm.
like if I were to learn French, if I were to learn French from reading a book, I would not be pronouncing my words correctly. I wouldn't have the right inflections. I think what you really have to do is copy and spend
Hmm.
a long period of time doing that, you know. So I think the better option would be to find some musicians you really liked, buy their albums, play along with those records, copy
Hmm.
them, maybe do a little
Mm.
analysis of your own.
Yeah.
So I do that, and then there was a long period where I'd copy, I would transcribe, writing them down, then I would
Mm.
extract certain lines that they would play,
Hmm.
and then I would practice superimposing those into similar harmonic situations. Like,
Ah. Yeah.
so find something someone plays that sounds great over a 2-5-1 harmonic progression.
Mm.
You take that, you extract it and learn it in a few keys and you plug it
Mm.
in.
Mm.
So that would be my recommendation initially.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you can augment that with books, but I really don't think books are the way to start when you're learning the language of jazz.
Yeah. Oh, that's great advice. Thank you. Now, you mentioned that the Thousand Memories had a visual component to it. Does that mean there was a video made of that as well?
Yes, there was,
Oh,
and
excellent.
that may be on YouTube. I'm not sure if it has the recorded version of the audio or if it is from a live
Mm.
recording.
Hmm.
But yes, there was a really interesting video that accompanied it. So
Oh,
yeah,
excellent. So we have a video coming up with for a song called "By Our Love." Tell us a little bit about that one.
that's a loaded piece. So that one, its origins date back to 2016 when Trump was first elected,
Ah.
and I remember the day after the election, just how distraught many of my students were,
Oh my
especially
God.
students of color,
Hmm.
women. I had some students that were in tears.
Yeah.
Um, and so later that week, as was my practice at the time, I went to church on Sunday, and they had a worship band, kind of a little rock band, that was playing, and they played this song called "They Will Know We Are Christians by Our Love."
Mm. Hmm.
I don't know if you know that
I
song.
have heard that song.
Um,
Yeah.
I wrote down the words just so I can, because it's interesting. So it goes, "We are one in the Spirit, we are one in the Lord. We
Mm.
are one in the Spirit, we are one in the Lord. And we pray that all unity may one day be restored.
Mm.
And they'll know we are Christians by our love, by our love. Yes, they'll know we are Christians by our love."
Mm.
So I had just read that 80% of evangelicals had voted for Donald Trump.
Oh, I know.
And
God.
it's mind-boggling, right?
Yeah.
And uh, obviously there was a real disconnect there because he represents the opposite of many of Christ's teachings.
Absolutely.
Um, and so people were singing this song and they were singing it with joy, right? And I
Mm.
remember looking around and thinking, they might say that this church is different, right? But in all likelihood, a good portion probably voted for Trump, right?
Mm. Mm.
And if they're saying, like, they're talking about unity in this song, I've never felt less unity with the people with whom I'm seated in these pews.
Mm.
And are Christians known by their love, or are they known for supporting this person that with hateful rhetoric?
Yeah.
Or are Christians known for what they oppose? So I couldn't sing that song that day, and it changed. It literally changed everything for me.
Mm.
And I went home thinking, how do I respond? Right. And I thought about writing, just a really dark arrangement of "They'll Know We're Christians by Our Love," right? And so that was percolating.
Mm-hmm.
Then, very shortly thereafter, I received a phone call from the University of Massachusetts,
Mm.
Amherst,
Mm-hmm.
commissioning me to write a piece. And they said, write anything you want.
Oh, wow.
And so I went, okay. so so here's my opportunity. So I wrote this piece initially for the jazz ensemble at UMass.
Mm.
Um, as you can, I love those stories about Stravinsky, right, where he wrote pieces and they caused riots.
Yes.
Um, and you know, that's what I was going for, really, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what happened was my liner notes, their program notes, and they wouldn't allow them to be printed.
Mm.
So they didn't want it to be political.
Mm-hmm.
So the piece played by itself, and people didn't really understand the context or what it was all about. And I got polite applause, but it did not cause a riot.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought, okay, so something's missing. Either the music wasn't strong enough, or maybe we need a visual aspect to this.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to one of my colleagues at UConn, who is a professor of illustration,
Mm.
and I said, maybe I want to see if you would entertain the idea of doing some kind of collaboration with me. And initially, I was thinking about a PowerPoint presentation where maybe we had some statistics that were shown,
Mm.
so some graphs, some just basic factual information, maybe a
Mm-hmm.
few diagrams. And she said, we could go much further with this. Let's do an animation that
Mm.
accompanies it,
Mm-hmm.
and let's go all the way with it. And
Mm.
then we brought that to Greenhouse Studios, which is a digital media group on campus,
Mm-hmm.
and they loved the idea. And we ended up
Mm.
getting a whole team of students and uh, people that worked with digital animation and artists, and they all
Mm.
worked together
Oh, wow.
um, to present what you'll be showing now, a little clip of it. So
Excellent.
we have a designated website if anyone wants to see this. The song has a designated website.
Mm.
So it's called by-our-love.com.
I love it.
It
I
would
love
have
it.
cost it would have cost me $8,000 to buy the URL that did not have
By our
dashes in
love.
it.
Yeah.
So that's yes.
All right. So here we
Yes.
go. This is a great piece. I wish we could listen to the whole thing because it is amazing. And what wonderful quotes!
Thank you.
What wonderful quotes! All that. Now, I haven't normally seen jazz and maybe I'm just out of it. I haven't seen much jazz in the religious space. Is this kind of unique to have just jazz?
Uh, to a certain extent,
Mm,
it does exist, if you
hmm.
look in the right areas,
Okay, yeah,
and which can kind of lead to, I think, the next piece even that you were talking about playing.
yeah.
I'll mention that, as I mentioned, I grew up attending a Baptist church
Mm,
and was playing music in church from a very young age.
yeah.
And so I was writing, well, at the same time I was learning jazz. And
Mm,
so I couldn't resist the urge to try to incorporate jazz into some of this, um, into some of my church music.
uh-huh.
So over the years, I accumulated many, many arrangements that I had written of
Oh,
jazz hymns,
mm-hmm,
um, and was looking for an opportunity to record them at some point.
mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know. Do you want me to tell the whole story, lead into the
Yeah,
story of how I met
yeah,
Carly Epp? And yeah,
yeah, yeah.
so
Please.
so it's interesting how related they are. Find the right group of musicians to record those hymns.
Mm, mm-hmm,
Especially, I needed the right singer, and
mm-hmm.
by that I mean I needed someone that sort of came out of that tradition, that knew those old hymns,
Mm-hmm.
but yet was trained in jazz and
Mm,
gave the right jazz inflection, so what
mm-hmm.
didn't sound so it didn't sound artificial.
Yeah.
So say probably it's probably around 2017, maybe around 2017, I would guess. I was invited to give a master class at the University of Manitoba. So I'm originally from Manitoba, and I was
Mm.
visiting in order to adjudicate some high school jazz festival, I believe in
Oh,
North Dakota. And I came up and just to see some friends, but
oh.
I was asked to give a master class there.
Mm,
And they said, talk about your latest composition. So it was this piece. It was the piece we just listened to, By Our Love.
mm-hmm.
And I had lots of questions from the people that were in attendance. Remember, Manitoba is considered the Bible Belt of
Oh,
Canada,
I didn't know that.
so there were
Okay.
lots of Mennonites there.
Huh.
And I noticed that the person who was especially engaged in the conversation was their professor of jazz voice, and her name was Carly Epp. Now,
Mm,
I didn't know Carly at all. I had never heard her sing. I
uh-huh.
did know her husband. Her husband is a great bass player, Carl Kohut, and I was playing with him that afternoon and was wowed. He's unbelievable. He sounds like
Mm.
Scott LaFaro, right? He's an incredible bass player.
Mm,
And we had dinner after this presentation,
mm-hmm.
and I got to talking with her, and I thought they're a lovely couple,
Mm.
and they hinted that they came from a religious background. I think they were both Mennonites. Later on, I went at the end of the night. I went back home and I went onto their website. I was so curious. I wanted to hear how Carly sang, right?
Mm,
Because I
mm-hmm.
thinking she seems like a cool person, but I listened to it and my jaw hit the ground. I was just like,
Wow.
this person is incredible.
Yeah.
And so I had that hymn project in the back of my mind as something that I always wanted to do because I have many many hymns that were arranged,
Mm-hmm.
and it just dawned on me right there. I found the singer that day to do that whole project.
Yeah.
So I called them up the next day and I said, okay, so let's talk about this, right? You mentioned that you came from a church background. She said her grandfather was uh, I believe he was a minister.
Mm,
So
mm-hmm.
she had been brought up listening to all this music. She knew all the songs,
Mm-hmm.
and she had graduated from the Manhattan School of Music studying
Oh.
jazz. And her husband is a Juilliard grad. So
Mm,
at that point, I had another recording in mind that I was going to be doing in a few months, and I
mm-hmm.
switched gears. I said, I've found the right people, and I did it. So the next piece that you're going to play comes from that album.
So this album is called Consecrated, I believe. True. It's
That's right.
all this wonderful stuff. And this is called Take My Life and Let It Be Consecrated.
consecrated, Lord, to thee. Take my moments and my days, let them flow in ceaseless praise, let them flow in ceaseless praise. Take my hands and let them move at the impulse of thy love. Take my feet and let them be swift and beautiful for thee, swift and beautiful for thee. Take my voice and let me sing, always only for my King. Take my lips and let them be filled with messages from thee, filled with messages from thee. Take my silver and take my gold, not a mite would I withhold. Take my intellect and use every power as thou shalt choose, every power as thou shalt choose. Take my will and make it thine, it shall be no longer mine. Take my heart, it is thy own, it shall be thy royal throne, it shall be thy royal throne. Take my love, my Lord, I pour at thy feet its treasure store. Take myself, and I will be ever only all for thee, ever only all for thee.
Wow, what a talent. Just gorgeous voice. Yeah.
Yeah.
And everyone talented. Just, wow. Mm. By the way, I should thank Chris from the River Room for introducing me to you. Is it Chris Beaudry? Yeah.
Yes.
Do you guys ever play at the River Room by any chance? I'd love to see you guys play live. That'd be great. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I debuted my Black Square ensemble at the River Room.
Oh, you did.
Um,
Excellent.
we we performed all the music, and then and we rehearsed there beforehand, and then the
Mm.
next day we went into the recording studio.
Oh, wow.
Um, but yes, I do play with Chris as well in several different ensembles. I've known Chris since he was a high school student,
Oh, really? And here
and
he's a great
yeah,
sax player. Yeah.
he's a fantastic saxophone player.
Yeah.
And when he was a high school student, he was looking for opportunities to play, and I allowed
Mm.
him to play with one of the jazz bands at UConn to
Ah,
get to gain some more expertise. And man, he
excellent.
is flown. Yeah,
Wow. That's wonderful. That's great. Okay, so this next piece is from your Open Borders album called Mirror of the Mind. You want to give us a little background on that before I play it?
sure. Uh, so I had to get straight in my head which recording this was because I
Let's get
recorded this piece. I recorded this piece twice, and so the
this.
Open Borders one is my 10-piece band,
Mm.
and I called that band Yankee Gumbo. And um,
Yeah.
the so mirror of the mind is an expression that I took from the famous jazz trumpet teacher Bill Fielder, who taught
Mm.
at Rutgers when I was there. He
Hmm.
was a very eccentric person, and at during his trumpet lessons, during the first trumpet lesson with a new student, he would always say, "What is the trumpet?" And he would only accept one answer: "The trumpet is the mirror of the mind."
Really? How did
Yeah.
he get that answer?
And
Oh, God.
yeah, I wonder, I think it probably took a while to for them to arrive at that, right? But of course that phrase stuck with me, right? And I
Mm.
was thinking about how our music, how our lives, our artistry should be the mirror of our minds.
Mm. Mm.
Um, this piece uh, also stemmed from another collaboration with with Deborah Dancy, a visual artist.
Mm.
Um, she gave me a video. The video came first for this one, and it was a picturesque scene. It reminded me of Lake Louise in
Mm.
Alberta, right, with
Mm.
beautiful mountains and a lake. And of course, anytime I'm surrounded with mountains, I kind of hear the sound of Aaron Copland. You know, those big kind
Yes.
of open, kind of fifth oriented chords.
Yes. Yeah.
And so I tried to replicate that a little bit. I listened to Aaron Copland. There was
Hmm.
also a piece by Gary Dial, the pianist. It was recorded by Rich DeRosa, and the song is called, or the album was called "The Great Divide," um, or the piece is called "Great Divide," and the album was called "Brassworks."
Mm.
And I
Hmm.
remember I thought that's got that sound that I really want, and I transcribed it to try to figure out what it was, and it was
Mm.
major ninth voicings in first inversion that
Huh.
had this kind of, it just had a really open, majestic, mountainous kind of sound.
Mm. Mm.
So there's my introduction. That's hopefully
Excellent.
that sets it up a little bit.
All right. There we go. I have to admit, when I first listened to the song and saw the album name Open Borders, I hadn't read your bio yet, so it didn't occur to me that this might also be a political statement about open borders. Is that true? Am I reading too much into it? No, it is. Okay.
No,
So,
you're reading that correctly.
and now I
Yes.
put that together. Yeah, excellent. So this next piece is called Woody and You. We're just going to listen to a little bit of it. Any background on that before I start it? Play it?
Sure. So Woody and You is a composition by the late great Dizzy Gillespie. And Dizzy was known for his amalgamations of jazz with Latin American rhythms. And so I decided to go even a step further and turn it into a full-blown salsa piece using clave-based rhythms. And so it's very danceable. It's lots of fun.
Mm-hmm. Okay, excellent. I just hate to cut off, but we got more to do. But oh my God, so nice. And I love the Spanish feel of this. Did you have your Spanish percussionist behind this? Is that the guy that you
So
mentioned?
it's not Spanish. It's Afro-Cuban, right?
Oh, is it really?
And
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, Afro-Cuban. And what's kind of interesting, first of all, it's the chords for that are very jazz chord. They're,
Mm.
minor seven flat fives and altered dominants, but
Yeah.
putting those through that Latin American, it's called a montuno, right? Where you're going ba bu do di da do bi di da ba di bu do. I
Ah.
used to do some Latin gigs, but I stopped doing them because I found I got so much lactic acid built up in my forearms
Oh
from
my God.
thumping, right? So I pulled back on that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
the other fun memory that comes with that story, or the other fun story that comes with that song,
Mm.
is the day after the album was released, my office phone rang, and it was Frank Foster. Frank Foster, who wrote for the Count Basie Orchestra and
Oh
was
wow.
one of my absolute heroes.
Yeah.
And I didn't believe it was him, but he had heard the song on the radio and he was calling to compliment me and introduce himself.
I hope you didn't hang up on
But
him.
like I almost did, right? It was a hilarious beginning to the conversation. He said, "This is
Wow.
Frank Foster." I said, "Yeah," and I have a lot of friends that are pranksters,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I said, "Yeah, right, it's Frank Foster," But
That's great.
anyway, yeah,
Wonderful. So this last piece we're going to play is called Friday Night at the Cadillac Club. Big beat, foot tapping, wonderful piece. You want to give us a little background up before I play it?
This one dates back quite a ways. I probably wrote this around 1997 or 98, and I
Oh,
wrote it for Maynard Ferguson's band.
oh, okay.
Um, when I was touring with them, of course, the goal was to get a piece into the repertoire that would be performed on a regular basis.
Hmm.
And he was known for, we'd all joke by saying he's known for being high, fast, and loud.
Hmm.
And I thought this song meets all of those criteria.
Hmm.
Um, so I have memories of writing this in my hotel rooms. I'd bring my
Hmm.
keyboard in at night,
Well,
and I collaborated with different guys in the band. Like I remember bringing the drummer in and saying, "Hey, I'm thinking of writing this section, which will feature you at the end. It'll have these big hits.
hmm.
They'll be rhythmic, and I want you to be able to solo around it." And I'd say, what do you think of this figure? And then he said, maybe change that around a little bit. And so, we it was there was an element of collaboration in there.
Wonderful. Yeah.
And we did get to perform it with Maynard. It was fun.
Oh, you did. Excellent. Woo! Like if you're not tapping your feet or snapping your fingers when you play that, you got to be dead. That piece is amazing. That's a
It's a
wonderful.
fun one.
I'm glad you shared that whole concept too of how you coordinated the drumming with the band sound. That really is a very effective technique at the end there. That's wonderful.
Thanks.
Well, I can't thank you enough. I had a lot of fun over the last 2 weeks listening to your music and collaborating with you and putting this together. It's been a lot of fun. I look forward to seeing you when you perform sometime. And of course, Songs for a Shifting World with the Black Square Ensemble.
We're going to play it in Bushnell Park on Monday, July 20th.
Mm-hmm.
It's part of the Paul Brown Monday Night Jazz series,
Mm.
and they have a social justice night. And so we are the first of two bands that are performing in the park. And in the past, I've had up to 8,000 people at those
Wow.
concerts. So
Well,
it's
that's
a lot of
great.
fun.
Oh, that's
You can
great.
bring a picnic blanket and some food and a bottle of wine if you wish, and enjoy the concert, in the open
Wow.
air.
And as I mentioned, July 20th is when we landed the first man on the moon. That was the walk on the moon. That's back in 1969. So that dates me somewhat.
So important things happen on July 20th.
Exactly, exactly. Earl, thank you so much. This has been a lot of fun, and I look forward to keeping in touch. Have a great night.
It's been a
Thank you,
real
everyone.
pleasure, and thank you so much. Okay,
My
bye.
pleasure.